Hi, Alberg here, and in today's Excel video we're going to learn about randomness. And the first thing we're going to do is come up with a meal selection. So let's just type in some meals, and we're going to want to do a random selection because help me make a decision. We'll say meals. So let's actually start with breakfast. So we could just write a bunch of meals. We can have eggs, toast, nothing, or let's say skip, and say McDonald's, diner, waffles, yogurt. And in future videos I'll get a little bit more complicated where we can make multiple choices. So now, how do you select something random from here? And the way you do that is with a random function. So we're going to do a random between, which is a function. You start all functions with the equal sign, and then we're going to type in rand between, and the random between takes two parameters, a bottom and a top. So we're going to say 2 because we don't want to select 1, and we're going to select 8. So we're going to get a random number between 2 and 8, and it did 8. Now if I want to, so now if I just don't do anything, I'm not going to get another one. How do I get a new random number? So one way is you could just type, and you see it brings up 6, but you can also press F9. Okay, so I'm going to press the F9 key. And I'm just pressing it, and you see 4, 5, 8, 3. Okay, so now you can stop here. So 3, I'm going to eat toast. 5, I'm going to eat McDonald's. 6, I'm going to go to a diner. 8, I'm going to eat yogurt. Okay, and that could be enough. But let's say you wanted to actually display what you're going to select. So we're going to need to do a few things. And this is a very important lesson in Excel, and that is hard coding, where I enter the numbers is okay, but what if I add a new item here? So I'm going to add number 9, and let's say bacon. Now the problem with this is that this is only going from 2 to 8. I could change this to 9, and we can stop there. But what you really want to do is you want to be able to come up with a number here. So we're going to figure out a way to come up with what the top item is. So this 9, how do we find that? So one way I'm thinking to do it is we can count. So I have 9 items, and if I can count how many items I have here, I can use that as a parameter. So let's come up with the count, and I'll say count items. And the way you count items is you use a count function, count, and we can say a colon a. That'll count everything in A in column A. We could have also done A1 colon A9, which selects what we have, but if I add things it won't work. So we're better off doing A to A, and we get 0. So we know that's wrong because we know that there's obviously 9 items, and the problem that I'm having is that, and this is a very common mistake, count only counts numbers. So if you have a number, you'll get a count. So we want to use a different function called count A. So let's add the letter A. And we get 9, which is exactly what we want. Okay, so we have the number 9, we have our random number, so we want to substitute right here the contents of cell E2. So this is E2. You can see from here I clicked on the cell, it's E, it's 2, E2. And if I change this to E2, so I'm going to get a count of the number of items, and I'm going to get a random number between 2 and E2, which is, E2 is a cell, and the cell has 9, so it's going to really do a random number between 2 and E2. And we could actually see this, and we're going to go to the formula ribbon. And this is a very useful part of the formula ribbon, which is the evaluate formula. So we're going to click that, and you can see you're going to press evaluate, and you see it does evaluate to 8 in this case. You didn't really see it there, but so we know that the random number I'm getting is 8. I'm going to press F9 to get 4. So 4, we're going to skip the meal. 6, we're going to go to diner. So now I want to actually display the meal we picked. We're going to put the meal here, so we have to be able to, using the number 7, which is a random number between 2 and 9, we came up with 7 waffles, so we want to get waffles. So now I know that it's in cell A7, so all I really have to do is get the value of A and 7 into a cell. So the way one way to do that is with the so we want to get this meal name. So first thing I'm going to try to do is get the cell name. So I know it's in A, so we're going to first put A, and we know it's 9 here. So if I type in A9, we just have a value A9, but how do I get that into a cell? So the way to do that is with the indirect function. So if I say indirect we get an error. And we're getting a reference error, and the reason for that is that A9 is a cell address which has bacon in it, and bacon, so we're trying to get the value of bacon, which needs to be a cell, which it isn't. So that's why this isn't working right. If we turn this into a string, we do get bacon. So that's a little bit better. So now all I have to do is create a string of A9. So A is always going to be A in this case right now, and the 9 is here. So one thing I can do is I can concatenate this value 9. If I get rid of it here, and the concatenation character, there's a couple ways to do that. I like to use the ampersand, and then if I just select this cell, it's going to put E2 in there, which is the value 9, and the meal is bacon. Now this is a little hard to follow, this indirect. It's a little advanced function. So the way it works again is that this quotes is telling me that A is a character string. This is it's going to combine A plus the contents. E2 is a cell, so you got to be careful with knowing the difference between a cell, E2, and a string. Strings are usually, in this case, stored within double quotes, and cell names have a character followed by a number. So this is E2. We could put any character. So, and if let's evaluate this one and see how it works. So we have indirect. So E2 resolved to 9. Now we're going to concatenate A plus 9, and we're going to should get A9. And now indirect is saying, give me the value in A9 and return that. So A9 is here, so the value should be bacon. So indirect A9 says, and this has to be a string, not an address. So if I said indirect A9 without the quotes, and this is a little subtle difference that you have to learn, the difference between a string and an address. So if I put indirect A9 without the quotes, and this was a cell, it would get, so if I had D6 here, for example, then it would get the value of D6 instead of the reference error. So let's create evaluate, and you see it's bacon. Let's put D6 here, D2. So now it actually did it. So it's sorry, let me just add it here. So if we say indirect A10, so now in this case it's not a string, it's a cell, so it's asking me what's the contents of A10. So A10 has D2 in it, and D2 has count items, so it should show us count items, which it does. And if we put A10 in it, and again, it's a little confusing, takes some time to get used to. Where it's a string, it's not saying give me the contents of cell, it's saying give me the contents of A10, which in this case is D2. What do you see? And let's get rid of this. And one of the nice things is if you get rid of the end ones, bacon in. So let's press F9. Okay, so I'm pressing F9, but nothing's happening. So whenever something does go wrong, you've made a mistake. In this case, I've made a mistake. It's not obvious what my mistake is there. So it looks like I'm just pointing to the wrong cell. I must have changed it. So this should be D1. Okay, so we're going to skip. I'm going to press F9 again. Yogurt, McDonald's, waffles. And then if you wanted to, we could make this bigger, or we could even hide this if you want. We're going to hide it with a group. So I'm going to show you some grouping. It makes it a little easier if you want to. I could hide it with this and press, and we'll say new random meal. Pressing F9. And it's hard to get back the cells you've hidden. You actually have to select everything, unhide. So we're going to use a group. And one thing in this case I'm going to do is I'm going to say, should be okay. And let's group it. And so it creates this thing, and if you press the minus, you get that. So if you wanted to show the data, you can press the plus and then add a new item here. Say fruit. And if you want to make it nicer, we could center this. Make it a little bigger, bold it, highlight it, font a little bit bigger, and then press F9. And sometimes I press F9, nothing happens. And I'm just pressing F9. So that's all I have. You want to save your workbook. Don't forget to save it. File, save as. And let's call it random meal. And in the next video, I'm going to show you how to do a more complicated random, where we're going to say you wanted to pick, okay, we got waffles, but if you want to have waffles with what? Waffles with butter, waffles with butter and syrup, etc., etc. So that'll be in the next video. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.